Thank you for tuning in to Student Power Radio. Student Power at VCU is an organization on campus dedicated to making VCU more accessible, inclusive, and equitable for both students and community members. We'll now be introducing the hosts of Student Power Radio, and we'll be starting with Star.
Hi, my name is Star. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a current senior at VCU. I'm an organizer for Student Power, and I mostly deal with the outreach and PR side of the org. I got involved with Student Power around the No Policing Mental Health campaign, and I'm super excited to have these radical conversations and build support with you all.
Hi, my name is Steven. I'm a rising senior at VCU. My pronouns are he, him, and I do a bit of the more outreach sort of for the organization. I get involved with this work and organizing about 2 years ago in tandem with Saba, who's going to be introducing themselves a little bit later. And I'm really excited to see where this podcast goes and also ensuring that we're platforming both VCU students and community members.
Hi, I'm Saba, and I'm one of the organizers for Student Power VCU. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a rising senior here at VCU. I've been working with Student Power for the past 2 years now. I'm so excited to connect with y'all through this podcast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mikey. I'm a rising junior here at VCU. I work more on the organizational and data collection section of our organization. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm really excited to have this opportunity to speak with members of the community, as well as members of the VCU environment, and have these discussions on the state of our campus and the state of our campus's expansion into the community, how they interplay with each other. I'm really excited for this. I know times are tough. I also want to remind everyone to make sure you go ahead and take care of yourself. That comes first. So all of my VCU people, make sure we're doing that. With that, we're going to go on to Saba, and she's going to talk about how Student Power started, particularly with our No Policing and Mental Health campaign. Yeah, go ahead, Saba.
Student Power at VCU started 2 years ago with the campaign called No Policing and Mental Health. Our campaign focused on pressuring VCU to separate policing from mental health as a whole in the processes such as the crisis call and the wellness checks. For many years, the crisis call process at VCU required students to call VCU police to speak to a counselor. However, after countless meetings with the administration and through our student organizing, we pressured VCU to separate the crisis call dispatch from VCU PD. The dispatch was separated on May 11th of 2020, and students are no longer required to call the police at any time to speak to a counselor. But we all know that this is not enough. We have seen police being heavily involved in our community, and we are actively demanding VCU to divest from VCU PD and RPD.
So with that, and like Saba said, we had to go through a lot of bureaucratic loopholes trying to help with the facilitation of the removal of police in the mental health process here at VCU. Going through those tribulations, we found that a lot of times student concerns were not met, and that student concerns weren't voiced to the administration. So the idea behind Student Power Radio would be to platform community voices, as well as VCU specific voices, to have them speak about issues that pertain to their experiences, as well as to provide narrative collection and also the ability for people to really share their creative aspects. This is a pretty informal setting, but we also are going to have an emphasis on education and the decolonization process of the education system. Star's going to go ahead and talk more about that.
Yeah, so just piggybacking off of that, this is a lot of what Mikey said is what the content that you can expect from us week to week. We really want to start our focus on decolonizing education. A lot of times that we hear from VCU students is that they don't really know a lot about what's going on in the community, or, they aren't very connected to the world outside of campus and, the bubble that higher education provides. So we definitely want to continue here to build networks of support from hearing from community members and hearing from students, workers, and faculty on campus. And we also want to amplify the voices of those that are most affected by what's going on. Really, what we're going to strive to do is uproot our ideas about traditional notions that we experience every day, uproot our ideas about policing, about education, about all of these things that are very centered traditionally in white supremacy, and get to the root of what's really going on.
And in tandem with that, we are establishing a project which we are dubbing Project Decolonization Education. And this is going to work as a curriculum framework in tandem with the Student Power Radio. to elevate both community and student concerns and demands. The intention of this curriculum framework is to decolonize notions about what education is, as well as to educate students and youth about the impact of VCU on the community, VCU in general, the greater Richmond community, and the history of oppression that most affected groups and marginalized communities have faced. And also to establish a sort of network of support. The intention of Project Decolonization Education is to provide an organic, cumulative, collective aspect of the community, because the essence is, if they won't teach us, we'll teach us because we protect us. And in that aspect, fostering an inclusive space for students and youth alike, as well as community members, to facilitate these conversations that a lot of times aren't being had in academic settings and educational settings. Project Decolonization Education, the schedule intends to have a format of 2 podcasts, 2 episodes kind of Student Power Radio throughout the week. The earlier version will be a bit more formal. It will involve platforming community demands, community organizers, community voices, and also working to do the education piece to this work, ensuring that we're including resources both from the community and both from other people that have done this work before us. And then our later podcast release is intended to be a bit more informal, a bit more conversational, a bit more narrative driven, in which we can have people come on, share experiences, discuss specific things that are affecting them, whether it be at VCU or in the larger Richmond community, and just in general to address these in an inclusive and safe and open, facilitated, and radical space.
Okay, yeah, so other than this podcast, we just kind of want to talk about other places that you can see our content. So we are on Instagram at Student Power VCU, and we on Twitter as well under that same @name at Student Power VCU. We're actually really active on Instagram and we're getting there on Twitter, but we post a lot of our actions there. We post a lot of our content there. And even also we do a lot of like narrative collecting there. So if you do want to catch up with us outside of this podcast, definitely head over to those resources.
Thank you for tuning in to Student Power Radio. Remember, plant the seeds to your radical garden.